it's nice having me as a person, because in the end it's about people on DeSo, and that's something I really recognize, right? We have nice names, fancy names like devs and creators and builders and all that stuff, but in the end it's people, and it's people that make things work. So we try to pay attention to these people. And as for the social world, it's been quite a journey.
So welcome to another episode of Who's Got Clout, hosted here on Clout Forum. My name is Mark Bentley, and my co-host here is Alex Roken, the founder of Clout Forum. And together we're exploring the cutting, or some would say bleeding edge, of the creator economy as it's being born into this new world, this new decentralized blockchain era. And we love talking to creators, developers, people that are building the opportunities, people that are creating the art and taking advantage of them, and finding out, where this world's going and what opportunities are there for creatives like yourself that are watching this. So today it's series 3, episode 8, and we've got a very special guest on. And every guest is special on this show, but in this case, Edo Koevoet. In fact, Edo, I'm going to have to get you to come on straight away, my friend. How do you pronounce your last name?
Koevoet.
Sorry, how was that?
Koevoet.
Koevoet.
Edo Koevoet. Yes.
Edo Koevoet. I have looked at your name so many times and wondered that question. I'm sure many others. Now we have the answer. Koevoet. Awesome, Edo. So, Edo, you are an amazing human on the decentralized social network, which is what kind of brings us all together. Even though we're exploring Web3 and everything else that's happening out there, you've been one of these characters that have really come in. And what I've loved about you is I haven't seen this ego wanting attention. I haven't seen anything happen. But paradoxically, over the time that I've seen you kicking about the community, you've birthed something really special. So DeSocial World, which is something really special into the world. And it's been amazing to start seeing your recognition starting to come, not because of you wanting it as such, but because you've really earned it with you and your team and what you've brought to the table, and has really resonated with the community so far that have been on this network and exploring it. So first and foremost, thank you so much for making the time to be with us here today. And really excited to hear what's going on in your world. So first and foremost, how are you doing, my friends, right now?
Well, these are strange times, right? I can say I'm doing great, and in a way I am. But at the same time, there's a situation in Ukraine that's drawing a lot of attention, especially, for all around the world. But I'm from the Netherlands, in Europe. So it's a bit closer to our home as compared to Australia, for example. So it's keeping me busy. And it also relates to some of the things we're doing with the social world. So personally, I'm doing fine. But looking at the world, things are not so good at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is challenging times. And, it's one of the things we've been thinking about a lot is this is really, to me personally, why I'm so involved in, decentralized socials and the idea of blockchain and decentralizing power, because I feel what we're witnessing right now is a byproduct of centralized power, right? It's too much power getting into too many places, and a disconnection from the people themselves, where it becomes about governments rather than people. And so that really brings us to the topic of today's conversation, Edo, which is, what you've birthed into the decentralized social world. So first and foremost, do you want to tell the listeners, what, DeSocial World is and how it came into being?
Yeah, sure. And let me get back to one of the first things in the compliment you gave. You said, it's nice having me as a person, because in the end it's about people on DeSo, and that's something I really recognize, right? We have nice names, fancy names like devs and creators and builders and all that stuff, but in the end it's people, and it's people that make things work. So we try to pay attention to these people. And as for the social world, it's been quite a journey. Personally, I joined on at the time BitClout, of course, April 15, 2021, and I was part, so to say, of the Dutch community, and I met people online like Nigel's. At first, I thought Tijn was also like in the Netherlands, but he's living in the UK and has a Dutch background, some family there. Martijn van Helen, who you had on the show a little while ago. I think we are even birth block brothers, born in the same block on the DeSo blockchain. But after a while, I realized that it's focused on the US or the English-speaking people. And it makes sense, right? Because DeSo was born in the US by US-based people, but the world is much broader than the US, obviously. So there were people starting to use it. There were worldwide coming more users into play. Also Dutch users. And to cut a long story short, we started out building BitClout Nederland. And that was the first project. And then DeSo was introduced, right, as a blockchain. So we started the Social NL, which is the Dutch version of BitClout. Or because at the time, Diamond app wasn't introduced, so we had first the Social NL with the BitClout front end, then we moved to the Diamond app front end, and basically we created and launched the site, the Social NL, which is still there, with the Dutch translation. So the site was translated into Dutch, and we had the feed of Dutch messages posted there. And in a way, and that made us realize, if you can do it for one language, we should do it for all the languages. And I also sensed that there was a global need, because the amount of non-American users was growing, the amount of non-English speaking users was growing. And they were like distant, right? They maybe not really fully recognized, or for example, the referral program was introduced at the beginning with large amounts. You may remember that. It was, I think, about 100 per referral. So that was very attractive. But then a lot of people could not refer it to their friends because they were like in Asian countries and they were on the blacklist, or they didn't get it. So they were like they were not drawn into the community. And what I want to do, and what the team wants to do with the social world, is to make DeSo accessible for anyone in any country. So it's decentralization towards all people worldwide. So we want to connect all these people, to bring them on DeSo, and language is a key instrument to actually do that.
Absolutely.
Because
and
how nice is it to find people from your own country nearby to be able to connect.
Yeah,
it just creates a sense of belonging.
That's an important thing right there, sense of belonging. Yeah. And I speak to that, Edo, from myself. I spent many years, when I was 17, I moved to Norway as an exchange student and lived there and learned Norwegian, my mother's language, and spent many years living and working. And that was one of the things that really hit home for me, Edo, when I first learned a new language, and really to a point where I was dreaming in it, was all of a sudden I realized that when I spoke to Norwegians in their mother tongue, or their natural language, I would see a slightly different character. I would get to see deeper into them of who they really are, that they couldn't express in English. And in a way, we look at social media, and especially when we look at decentralized socials where you can make tipping and things like this, if it's only in English, obviously that's a massive advantage to those who are English speakers. but it means it's very challenging if you have to speak in English. Whereas what you've really provided with DeSocial World, and I've just had a fresh update on it over the last hours and just really checking out what we've been doing in there. It's fresh and it feels clean, and like you say, is that I can imagine for people that aren't English speakers, it would help them feel respected within this new world and to be acknowledged and seen.
I was just about to say, because given that period of time when you were in Norway, so when you did your best to speak in the Norwegian language, did you have the impression that people appreciated you doing that?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't need to make my case anymore, because that's exactly what we're doing with the social world. We're
Absolutely
doing an effort for people to try and speak their language, and to connect them through their language, and to see them and to hear them.
Yeah. Although I have to say, Edo, except for some of the men, the boys, I should say, back when we were 17 years old, there was some very fun ones that would call me names when I was trying to speak Norwegian.
Of course. Yeah.
And hey, that's like social media, right? There's trolls. There's always going to be.
Yeah,
there's always going to be something.
True.
So summarizing that, you started DeSocial World based on the Netherlands, which is your own language, etc., which makes sense. And then from there went to the other languages. And so what's been the general feeling from the community, the response to that as you've been getting this out? How have they been receiving it? And what has the support been like from the community?
They appreciate the effort to get people closer together, and that we're doing that. So they've been very supportive. They acknowledge the elements of translation and creating the feeds or posts in a specific language. So they really like that. And at this point, it's not maybe not yet too important, because the people who are joining DeSo probably are pretty good at English. But if you think about preparing the entire ecosystem for mass adoption, you'll need much more of this. And there are some people that really recognize that and that feel that. They like what we're doing. They're also very appreciative. They either tag us in posts, or when they every now and then people are asking, what's your favorite note? Or I see many people stepping up referring to us, so that's very nice. And so the community is great, but it's like a back and forth between us and the community. So we sincerely believe that we need to pay attention to the community, and when we do something for them, they tend to give something back. So gotcha. I'm going to give a percentage, but the percentage is just like made up. But the social world is about 50% about the app, the website, and its features, and it's 50% about community engagement. Because if you do only either one of them, it's not going to be successful as it is when you're doing both at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you say, they kind of feed each other, right? It's like water and food. You need both each day.
Yeah, they really feed each other. So I'm not sure if you found it on the site, but one of the things we're ranking is like the ranking of languages in which people are posting. So Spanish is now number 1. Dutch is still number 2, but that goes back into history basically, because we were the first to do. And Chinese and Portuguese are typically 3 and 4. They're switching places lately. But we've made a similar ranking for people who are using the social world to post.
Yeah, gotcha.
So you can also find it there. So Shady Acres, for example, is now ranking the all-time high position, and he's ranking the last 7 days. But there's much more. and it's a way. I mean, it's not really big, but it's a sign that we want to highlight the people who contribute to the social world. And in the future, we're going to organize some win games that, if you're in the last 7 days ranking, we give like diamonds or a portion of the coin or whatever to some of the people who are in there. So it makes it tangible again. It makes people visible. Everybody can get to that spot.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and it really, I've personally seen the byproducts of your engagement with the community and the way that you've really been working all together, and you can feel that from DeSocial World. You can feel that it's not this closed kind of I need to get this and then I'll let you see it, but rather a very loving kind of connected, and I think connection. And we you mentioned in the beginning, and we spoke about it at the beginning, but for me, this is something that is so vital. This is what I'm so excited about decentralized socials for, is the ability to start connecting on our own terms, right? Where we're empowered to make the choice. If you want censorship, go to a censorship node somewhere. That's your choice. You have the freedom of that choice. If you want something that acknowledges multiple countries, languages, connection, then DeSocial World is a fantastic place to go and start. And I'm loving that that's happening, because I think more and more as we go forwards, it's going to be such a vital ingredient to surviving the changes ahead, as we move from centralized to decentralized, and hopefully not collapse the empire this time.
But the social world goes also, especially in the vision, but it's already put into practice a little bit, much further than just our node. So we have language feeds right on our site. So when you click on it, it shows either the feeds in Chinese or in Dutch or one of the other languages in there. But we're sharing those feeds with many apps. And we can do that even more in the future. So those feeds are already integrated into Clout feed app. So you can also look up the Chinese feed, for example, in the Clout feed app.
That's awesome.
But we can suppose Indonesia. If somebody in Indonesia steps up and start to really manage the Chinese, the Indonesian community via a dedicated app for Indonesia, people from within the country will be able to manage their community much better than we are doing, right? Because how can we?
Yeah.
How can we? We are far too apart. It's not scalable, right? Because if the world's growing, how can we manage like 100 country nodes all around the world? But what we can do is via an API provide these apps with the language feed of their country. So then we empower the decentral apps and the decentral nodes in their country to be able to onboard more and more users. So
That's
it's
brilliant.
not only about our app. We're like an integrator node and a decentralization booster node, or whatever you want to call it, to many of the apps that will start to pop up. In the positive scenario, when DeSo is growing, when user base is growing, when worldwide presence is growing, you'll see more and more country nodes popping up.
Yeah,
and we can empower them. And yes, of course, it's decentralized, so each individual product on its own can start to figure out how to create a language feed and show it on their site. They're not forced to use our feed, but if they want to speed up development, they rather focus on features dedicated for their community and use the feed from us.
Absolutely. And Edo, I think this is such a beautiful thing that you're doing, because there's going to be a lot of people wanting to create, and it's always that challenge, right? You can have a brilliant idea, but if you don't know how, like if you're not a coder or a programmer, there's technical things that are really hard to come into place. Whereas if you're providing almost like a WordPress website, right? You're providing a plugin in a way like that goes into what they want to create. And I actually just had a message just yesterday from Made, an old friend of mine who used to be our driver for our family in Bali whenever we visit. And during COVID, we've had a lot of connection, and we've sent money over at times because they've had no tourists, so the family had to survive. And he's like family to us. I love him to pieces. And I've been wanting to be able to go, well, when we can one day get him into this and get him a way that he can now start creating alternative waves. Because I mean, the Indonesians are incredibly creative people. Like there's so much beauty in that land and the people and variety in them as well. And as you're saying that, it makes me sit there and think, okay, maybe we're not as far away as I thought. Because in a way, the puzzle pieces are already being built. You've already got probably one of the most trickiest pieces, the translation and the language so that's really exciting. So
and connection, like you said, is the key word here also for us. So we enable people to connect, because if you take the language feed again, if you go in there and you scroll the feed, you see the people who are posting in your language or one of the languages you speak. But you can also choose to follow them because you see it there. So you get the network effect, because it's so easy to connect to those people, and that's also what we did with the collab with DeSo from MOOCs. So why do we also promote his site? Because there people share their geolocation, either specifically or on a country level, or they just take a different city in their country if they want some privacy. And we also, via a pin, show it in next to the people where they are. So when you scroll the feed, you can see, hey, that person is coming from my country, and hey, this person is speaking my language. So yes, I would like to connect. Before, like months ago, I was connecting Dutch people who didn't know of one another that they were Dutch, because they were only posting in English on the platform. And now we're making it visible. And they don't need to do that. They want to follow all the US people if they want. I don't care, but we're providing them the choice. Mm-hmm. And they can. It's allowing people to connect more easy, and so we grow communities. And when communities bond, I believe it will be good for the retention.
Absolutely. Because it's one of those things, right? When someone joins up to Facebook or Twitter or one of these centralized social media apps, they're so established that they're usually, if they're joining up now, then they're going to have friends already, right? They're going to have community already, people. That's why they're probably joining right now. Whereas in this decentralized social world that we're all building together here in different ways and creating and culturing, it's not quite the same, is it? It's you can go on, but like there's very few of my friends and family, in Australia on the ground floor that are into this kind of thing, and to them it's a little bit out there right now. So and this is something that I recognize and encourage for people that do like living on the edge, is that right now, like you say, this network effect, this ability to be able to come into something like this decentralized social network and be part of the beginning. It also means that you get to meet some incredible people. Like I'm sure all of us here and everyone watching that's been part of DeSo and decentralized socials can say they've met some interesting characters. And that is, and in the past, like with BitClout, I had to look for names. Like, I would spot something and I'm like, hang on, that looks like a Norwegian name, or that looks like they're mentioning Norway, or I see a photo and think, oh, that's Norway. And that would be a reason for me to comment and start communicating and connecting. But it was very inefficient. Whereas I love what you're saying with these tools you guys are bringing to the table, because like now, just simply by changing to the language, you can see. Like I haven't even thought to do that, and it's such a thing I should have been doing. So that's I'm looking to having more fun with DeSocial World. It is, to be honest, I'm looking at it on my desktop, thinking, I think that's probably the one that's going to stay there now.
Good, very good. Like
that's exciting. It's exciting.
But it's also what I like about DeSo, because all the apps, they can do their niche and together do better things that they can do on their own.
Yeah.
Because DeSo may do other things, right? For example, now the map now shows, let's say, all people worldwide. But what if you log in and it shows, and you can make changes, so you see all the people you follow where they are, or all the people who are following you where they are, or where they are, where your coin holders are, or where the people are you're holding the coins of. Just with a menu button, I can imagine it, how it will look like. that would be a nice feature for DeSo Geo, in my opinion, just as a user of the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that element we would not integrate into the social world. And for us, it's good enough to know where are these people, and to go to the pin and see where the mesh lives, see where Krasenstein lives, see where Darren Paris lives. Oh, they live there, and they're pretty close to that person I'm also in touch with, and it I don't know, I like that, but we won't do the thing with all the layers I said. That's something for DeSo Geo. Or people come to us, they meet people from their own country, they start following them, and once they know they're there, they're going to go to NFTCs and to look up, hey, what are these creators that are living nearby doing, and how do their NFTs look like? So everybody does their specialty, but the ecosystem as a whole benefits. And
I love that.
There shouldn't be one app that does all. It doesn't work. Let's everybody do its specialization, and have the combination work for the users.
Yeah. You say a really important thing there, that it doesn't work when we try to be everything, right? If you try to be everything, then something's being sacrificed, and sometimes that's enough. Like sometimes, like you get a Leatherman, like a little handy tool that has all these different things in. It gets you by if you're opening a can, or it gets you, but you're not going to build a house with it. You're not going to fix your car with it, And I think this is something that I've been pretty passionate about as well, is exploring this concept of, where is our economy going as we go forwards? What's the world going to look like? And one of the things that keeps coming up for me that I hope is true is that we're going to see more artisans, more people that are working. Like, for example, remember when you get furniture, you didn't go to IKEA, you went to your village carpenter who would make you something by hand that is one of a kind and beautiful, right? And so they wouldn't try to do everything. They would just do what they're good at and what they love, and then share that. And so it's really cool hearing you talk about that in the way that, will you provide what you love, what you're passionate about, what your inspiration is, and then allow those tools to be used by others who then can take and do what they love. And so that's the beauty, I think, in the decentralized network, which for anyone that hasn't seen this, deso.org is where you can go check it out, deso.org, to get the breakdown of the fundamental kind of blockchain mechanics that DeSocial World is built on. But it is essentially meaning that the main thing I think anyone watching this needs to know is that the blockchain you've built this on, the infrastructure, the DeSo, allows users to have one login that can access lots of different nodes, like apps in that sense, for main language. And so, the beauty of this for you watching, it means that, Edo is not going to hold you hostage on DeSocial World. Like, that's the only place you can go. And if you post on there, your posts are only there. The beautiful thing about this decentralized network is that DeSocial World is one place you can go in and use it for the language and all the things that it specializes in. But you can then also take that exact same login and go to, like you were saying, Edo, to NFTZ or one of these platforms that specialize in something different, and still access your profile and everything there. It's yours as opposed to the apps. And I think that's amazing, seeing that, Edo, you're really creating some of what really is, the most important steps. A lot of people are doing amazing things, but what you're putting forward here sounds like some really important building blocks, for being able to take this to that next stage. So just on that, I just want to really acknowledge that and just say thank you for your tirelessness in bringing it forward.
You're welcome. Yeah, and to relate to that, reaching out to people who don't know DeSo not that well yet, is that it's good for them that wherever they go, whatever app they log into with their DeSo profile, you will have all your content with you, all your followers, all your posts, everything moves with you from one app to the other. So I happen to be DeSocial World. Maybe I built a big following through that. But I don't create a login like people now have on Facebook or on Twitter or whatsoever, where they have many followers. There can be a Twitter-like app in Web2, But if you move there and you go there, you're on your own, or you have maybe one friend, you don't have no reach, so you stay within your old app. On DeSo, that lock-in isn't there, which means that if I want to retain the people on our node and our app, but it's true for all the other apps as well, you need to do your utmost best to deliver value to your users. And that is a good thing for the users, because no app, not DeSo nor any other app, can take their user base for granted. Because if you spin up a new app which is doing better in terms of features, in terms of community engagement, existing users can go there instantly, and there's like no way to retain them other than to do better for your users. So in the end, the users, the people who are consuming any DeSo app are the winners.
That's such an incredible point, Edo, because really what we're looking at is natural evolution, right? Like we're unleashing evolution into the creative process of technology, as opposed to the current, economy, which is very much, I'm going to patent this and own this and then capture you in this. And now that you've been 10 years on Facebook, that was where I was trapped. I was on Facebook and I just kind of had been, because I hadn't thought about it. It's just where I did everything, my work and the rest. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to be on Facebook anymore. But I'm like, okay, but if you want to go join another network, start from scratch. And I was like, oh my God. That's like 8,000, community and intimate community. I had a lot of trust, a lot of connection. And when DeSo came along, I literally deleted my Facebook account. It was a mental health thing. I'm like, you know what? It's an addiction they've got me on. I'm not going to be trapped. I came to DeSo. Now I'm opening back up. I've got an account again and I'm stretching out, but only to lead people back over again, this way.
True.
So yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting what's possible. So Ada, would I be, let me know if I'm correct here. So I would say when people are kind of deciding where they want to put their energy and time right now, there are so many different applications out there, like you've already said with NFTs and we've got Diamond App, Clout, we've got all these other different things going on. For me, DeSocial World feels like a place that is already ready for those who are not necessarily wanting to come in and become NFT artists or this, or worry about blockchain, etc., but rather people who are wanting community and connection. I feel like DeSocial World is the leader in that right now, of ones that are bonding and connecting people worldwide. And, a great place to come, especially in these times, where if you want to connect with others, like, I would highly recommend, people that are really feeling the intensity of the world right now, that DeSocial World is a great place to go and to get connected with others. But especially, for example, maybe you can actually find, like, we have people from Ukraine where you can talk to them, you can message them right now and hear from their perspective what's going on. You've got lots of Russians, like, we've all got Russian friends and the rest out there. Go talk to the people and connect. And to me, Edo, that gives me hope, because when you look at the media, it looks like when they do those statements, it's all about the people and everything. But it's government, so much centralized power and politics and economics and things. But the people are what matter. That's what makes up this planet, is people. And DeSocial World feels like an oasis right now for people that want to feel that connection between lands, between nationalities, and that connection. Would you say that's a fair summary?
Well, it's for sure a nice compliment, but I think it's also a good summary. So what we're doing right now in collaboration with Gabriel Di Sante of GD Virtual Galleries is we're spinning up 2 galleries, and in one of the galleries will be featuring NFTs from only Ukrainian creators on DeSo. So everybody can go and buy these NFTs from these people. I know worldwide there's already these funds where you can donate crypto and it gets to the Ukraine people. and assuming you trust that the funds are taken care of well, it still goes like to a country. And what this would allow you to do is to basically support an individual person, right? Because behind each creator, behind each profile name, there's a Ukrainian person, so you can support them directly. And it's very nice that there's also Russian people on DeSo that are trying to do their best for anyone, so including the Ukrainians, so they can also buy the NFTs. But again, it's about that connection, right? Be able to support directly. And I also plan to take it out to mainstream and Web2, reaching out to my personal network. And maybe only 1 or 2 or 3 NFTs are sold. But it's about giving people a face. It's about doing something, and we have the opportunity. So let's use it. Let's do that. And in parallel, we're also in the process of building a dedicated site for the Ukraine, where we plan to host some feeds, where we plan to have the site translated in the Ukraine language. And why are we doing that? We don't know whether or not maybe central apps like Facebook, Twitter are being taken down in Ukraine via whatever route. And then DeSo would still enable these people to communicate. So they may be able to shut our app down, but or attack it via cyber warfare or whatsoever. But then we spin up a separate front end on a new node, and all the content and all the followers of all these people are there. So it's I don't want to say it's the use case, because it doesn't pay tribute to the situation there. But in case of need, decentral social media is offering a solution for the situation like there is in Ukraine. So we're building that site right now, and it's also being empowered by the social world node. So the content is coming from there, but it will have its own front end.
Yeah.
And so we want to give a safe place for the Ukrainian people to feel at home, to connect, to communicate, to ensure continuity of social media, and to be ready for whatever scenario may play out in the coming periods.
Absolutely. No, it's beautiful to see how you're innovating and experimenting and opening this up, and because it's one of those things, right? Even if, like you said, only a few NFT sells, at least the idea and the concept has exploded open, and more can come from that, whichever way it goes. And this is also something that I'm hoping we see more of as we go forwards, is because it's one of those things right now. Like, for example, the Ukrainian is obviously the crap that's going on there is horrifying. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of, looking in and thinking and seeing, and there's a lot of Russian people that are lovely people that are being punished for the government's actions. And without getting into politics and things, people are people, and they don't choose always to be in those situations. And so this is something that blockchain enables us to get out of the games of politics. And if you're a human and you're a good person, then there's a place to come, a place to connect, a place to take part in making solutions and, and supporting. And so that's what I'm kind of excited about, is hoping we start to see a separation of government away from the way we see people and more humans, and opportunities. And so,
yeah, again, not to turn it into politics, but if Russian people want to support Ukrainian people, it can be either dangerous or it can be impossible because the SWIFT transaction system is impacted. But if you're on DeSo, you could even create an anonymous account and send some money over without the need for a bank. That's also a thing that blockchain is enabling. It gives more options to create from people to people, irrespective of your country or your gender or whatever. it's more inclusive in that sense.
Yeah. And for reference as well to all the viewers that are watching or listening to this, this is recorded on March the 2nd, Wednesday, March the 2nd, just because these are pretty hot topics that, wouldn't it be wonderful, Edo, if by the time this got released next week, they were sitting there going, oh, what are they talking about? It's all over. That would be lovely. We put our prayers out here.
Yes.
So, Edo, I have one last question before I hand you over to Alex, who's got some fun questions for you to dive deeper into the world of Edo. And that is, what are your visions for the future of DeSocial World? What are some things that you're hoping to see coming out, either in the near future or distant future, or is it more just continuing with what you're already doing amazing?
Both, I would say. So an element of continuation is to add more languages, so translations to the site. We're in the process of doing that. We actually added Chinese, for example, this week. So and there's 1.2 billion Chinese speakers in the world. So that's a big market, I'd say,
that's
from a business perspective. Portuguese will be added this week, so that's continuation. But in the mid and longer terms, let me just pick out two specific elements. So we right now also have a proof of concept live with auto translate. So a message posted in whatever language is then translated into your own language. And ideally, we take it to the level where you can respond in your own language, which gets translated, and then the translation version of your response gets added to the blockchain.
That'd be incredible. That'd be incredible.
It would be incredible, but it's not that easy. That's definitely a roadmap item. And also we're already doing now, but it's more in the background. I told you a bit of the vision about empowering apps and country apps worldwide. So when DeSo grows as a whole, there will be a lot more of us empowering other nodes via what we create. So we don't only share it within the social world, we spread it, we decentralize those findings for other nodes to spin up, to build their user base. Because one user that enters the ecosystem is good for all apps. I sincerely believe that. So if we can empower, in Web2 you would say, let's not empower your competitors. In Web3 we say, let's empower our friends. So you'll see also a lot more of that element in the future.
Fantastic. What a great way to close this segment, Edo. I think you just nail on the head for what is so incredible about Web 3.0, decentralized, open source social media networks, right? Where we can start coming in, build it together and co-create and get rid of this thing of the patenting and hiding.
It's mine. It's mine.
It's mine. My precious. Awesome.
True.
Well, my friend,
I really like talking to you, Mark.
Yeah, likewise, Edo. I'm really I've often said to Alex, and I've probably brought it up on here many times, but it's, life has been so full for so long, and now it's really looking forward to. I get inspired. This is why I do this podcast, right? Is because I love being able to have this focus. So, I always want to see what everyone's working on, but there's so much and not enough time, and so many things in our own lives that I love, that I'm so fortunate to get to spend this time just with you, asking the questions, getting to know it all. And then off the back of this, it's we had Meredith Marson on, and the Medicines NFT collection. And after talking to her, I've been checking out the Discord ever since. And so now it's okay, now I've been activated with Edo. We've got DeSocial World rocking. I'm going to be taking part a lot more, and I look forward to being part of the community. So thank you for everything you've done, my friend. We'll have a couple of last words at the end, but I'll hand you over to Alex now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, so much for this incredible talk with Edo. You covered almost everything about DeSo and the social world. And I must to admit that you stole one of my question, the first one that I had for Edo, and it was about the innovation that this social world has brought to DeSo. Long bio and long post are exactly the features this social world famous for. And you're continuing bringing the innovation to DeSo. And my question is, and I'm really curious about it, what are the innovations you have in your mind that you can't announce as features that are going to be in near future, but what you are real passionate about and can be done maybe in some foreseen future? So my yeah, my question is about innovation that you have in your mind. Well, that is impossible to do right now, but what you would really want to implement.
So there will be at least two decisions that we need to take somewhere in the future. So one is related to the mobile element, and the other one is related to our front end. So many people are asking us, when are you going to release a mobile app? Because if you have a mobile app, I'll be 100% on the social world. And at this point, we follow the strategy: do good where you're good at. So we can't create a mobile app. So we feed into Clout feed, because at least then we decentralize the features we have towards the rest of the world. But when the entire ecosystem when we grow, it could be that we need to make a decision about that. Same thing for our front end. It's very obvious that we're building on top of Diamond app. But do we want to move to our own front end maybe in the future? Right now, we won't, because the Diamond app interface has something that is trustworthy, and trust is very important. Two, they do great stuff. They also implement threaded posts, etc. So whenever they do an update, we can automatically, or not automatically, it's a bit of work, but we can share it with our users as well. But we also have some ideas. So building on top of Diamond app also restricts us in a certain way. So in the future, we also need to make a decision about that element. And then I'm talking really long term, 2 to 3 years or so. I don't know, depending on how things go for the entire ecosystem. And I think what makes us strong, so that's why I don't can give a precise answer, is that I think we're good at feeling what the needs are from the community and answering to that, like the long bio, like the long post, etc. So when we sense that, we try to create something meaningful. Same, we are validating people on our node, because we sense that people felt unseen, felt unappreciated, so we pay some attention to that. So the same goes for features. There's definitely a few we want of our own. I talked about that with Mark when it comes to the auto translate. If we can get that work perfectly, that would be really nice. There's other things we want for ourselves to bring to the community, but some nice features could also come from what the community is asking us in the coming period.
Absolutely, two-way street.
It's a two-way street. And also what I always have in my mind, and it was phrased in a post by Dharmesh a little while ago. Don't overburden the users with tons of features. pick a few, do it good, make them better, make them stick. So it's so easy to do smart services, to do DAO, to do all the hype terms you go around, but we could alienate and confuse the users. So we also need to be selective.
Absolutely. This is experience speaking. And speaking about experience, this is a topic that uncovered for sure for DeSo users, because nobody knows what's your business background, what's your experience in business, and I think you've got a great one, and I really want to know better about it. So could you share some insights about it?
Yeah, so let me pick out a few elements. Professionally, I have a broad experience in IT, international programs. I can talk about that in a bit. And also the last few years, so that's been as per 2014, I've been doing training and coaching from professionals, but also from teams in companies. So I help build teams and help perform them on the next level. In IT, so coming back to that, for a long period of time, I was like program manager in the area of mergers and acquisitions or divestments. So whenever entities of a company were sold, you need to cut them out, or you need to integrate them when you bought them. In the past 3 to 4 years, I've been building for a 200 plus billion company. I've been building 2 cloud platforms for them to run their applications. So, simplified said, I'm used to building platforms for use in the enterprise. So many of these enterprise elements we are also using in our team to what we're building. Some of them are not visible, some of them are. But in my professional background, there's quite an expertise on building platforms.
Oh, that's just incredible, man. This is the diamond we have on our platform and during our podcast today for sure. A shining piece of gold. I'm just inspired by what you said, because merger and acquisition, building cloud platforms, these are hot topics, and merger and acquisition is the hardest thing in the whole corporate management from my point of view. When you need to decide how to develop your companies, when you have different actors across, and I would love to have another podcast just to explore this space, because this is the topic for sure with a lot of insights that we can get from. This is precious. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's breathe out and just tune in on the entertainment note, because we are going to talk about you, about your habits, about your interests, and so on and so forth, and have a little fun today.
Good.
So when you have 1 week or 1 day when you are totally free and your family is traveling somewhere, how do you spend your week or day?
Probably I would go out running. I like to run. Typically some longer distances, up to semi-marathon. But it's nice. It helps me to clear my mind. I've always been sporting throughout my life, playing field hockey, doing skiing, and running is a really nice thing to do. And I've traveled also a bit for my work throughout the year. So and your running shoes you can take everywhere. So that's nice. So it will be a bit of that. Have some good food, preferably with friends. We have been a little lot restricted in that past few years due to COVID. So that is now opening up. I really like that to build these connections again, to be around friends.
Awesome. Yeah. And speaking about running and skiing, I've noticed that this is something that quite tall people love doing it. And how tall are you?
I'm in meters. It's close to 2 meters.
Wow, you're a big guy in
I'm a
every
big guy.
sense.
Yeah. So when there's a lot of wind, it's tougher to run.
Awesome, man. Okay, let's jump to the next question. What brings the biggest pleasure to you? What's the best way to bribe you in emotional sense?
So I realized already this question I was taking like serious. In a way, I'm a serious person. So
We're all serious persons, but sometimes we just need some pleasure.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. So it's very nice to meet people that trigger the surprise element, the spontaneous element in that. I love to joke. I love to have fun, but sometimes it needs to be triggered a little bit. So if I'm around with people who create that atmosphere, I really like that.
Talking to intelligent with good sense of humor man or company. This is the best way to give you a pleasure. Oh,
thank you.
I love your answer. Really adore it. Okay, my next question. What is your passion? So let's take an example. If someday someone will approach you and ask to do, and you will jump straight to it, what would it be? So what's your passion?
Is it okay if I answer with DeSo? But in it it is so on the professional side, and I'm happy to answer also from the personal side if you like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to college, I studied applied physics. But when I had to make the choice, there were a few choices, and one of the choices was to do IT technology. But at the time, I thought, there's already so many computers. Let's not do that. So that was like a big wave I missed. Same thing for the internet wave in the years 2000. In a way, I saw it coming, and I didn't. I only saw it as a consumer. I never did something actually with it. And now there's the blockchain technology wave, and that's empowering in the niche to decentral social media. And I see and feel and I experience the potential, and I want to contribute to that. So that's my motivation, that in 5 years from now, to look back to this moment, and maybe even to this video, and be proud of what I've accomplished over the years. So that's giving me a lot of energy to engage, to build, to be within this community.
Awesome.
On the personal side, I'm having twin boys. They're 4 years old now. They went to school in January, and it's so much fun to see them growing up, and to be with them, and to be together with the family, do nice things. It's also the period in their lives where we need to pay attention to what we're saying, because they start to repeat it almost immediately right after to either friends or at school or whatsoever, irrespective of what they tell them. So that's a really nice period. They're very open to learning, and as a person, and you may have sensed that I really like to teach other people, and help them learn, help them grow, help them get better. And they're in the phase where they need that. So that's a really nice period in life.
Awesome, man. I have no words. I have still some question for you, but I believe that would be the perfect place to stop my questions. Nevertheless, I'm quite stubborn person, so I'm going to proceed with some.
You go,
So,
Alex.
okay, let's jump into some really tasty topics that I love to ask. What's the best beer in Netherlands?
Oh, let's stick to Heineken then.
Awesome. What's the best day in a year to visit Amsterdam?
I wanted to say the holiday. Then probably King's Day.
Oh.
So King's Day is a national holiday in the Netherlands, and that's where, and it's in more cities, but it's also definitely in Amsterdam, and that's where the people go out. And there's all these markets. You can buy anything. There are people being creative. I remember, and everybody wants to earn a little money, hustle, etc. And I remember a scene on Dutch television where a guy was playing the trumpet, but it was like horrible, right? The sound was horrible, and below his feet there was this sign that said, "For €1, I'll stop playing for a minute." and that's that's the thing you find on King's Day all around the Netherlands, but also definitely in Amsterdam. So if you need to pick one date, pick that day.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing it. What was the craziest thing you've ever done in your life?
I'm not sure if it was whether there's an exciting and a crazy thing, maybe. So do you know parapenting? What parapenting is? I'm not sure if that's the right word in English. So that's where you with a parachute,
Mm-hmm.
And you just jump from a mountain.
Wow.
And I did that on skis together with an instructor, obviously. But you just start sliding, and when you enter the
wow,
you go up, and then you go into the parachute, and it's a little bit of trust.
I'm sorry for so many wows, but yeah, I'm really shocked. Yeah, because this is something incredible. It requires a lot of preparation and training before you are going to do it.
That was so I was tied to the instructor. So that part I didn't do myself. The other thing which I did do on my own is that I've been gliding. So gliding is the aeroplane without the engine, right? And I got training, and I still remember my solo flight, my first solo flight. You go up, right? You do everything you were trained for, but then you're right up in the sky, and upon flying, there's like two crucial phases. That's takeoff and landing. Because the flight in itself, I mean, you're not going to run into a tree in the sky, right? So that's not that dangerous per se, but the landing, and then I was, after takeoff, I was released from the how do you call it, the cable, and then you're flying, and I was like, even if I don't want to, now I have to land, right? That realization, it was not a scary moment. It was an exciting moment.
Wow. Again, wow. And before I pass away after your words, I'm gonna to ask you the last question I have. If you were about to go to Everest, whom would you include in your team among all celebrities or historical persons?
So I'm going to share an anecdote. So don't say wow, but I'm not sure if you if you'll stick to that. First of all, I already summited Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. It's not Mount Everest, but it is 6,962 meters high. So it is quite a mountain. and we were with a group. And at the time, just below the top, the guide got mountain sick. And at that point, the route to the top was clear. We didn't need the guide anymore, and the way down was also clear. But the guide needed guidance to get back down. And we were by 7 at that point in time, including the guide. And then 2 of the guys said, we'll take the guide down. And basically, they sacrificed their entire expedition because they went down, so they allowed us to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that spirit, and that they did that for us, right? Because we wanted to go there, and they wanted to go there, but they volunteered and said, we'll take him down so you can go up. So whenever I would go to Mount Everest, I would invite them to come along, because they really deserve that. In terms of historical people, or
yeah, the basic question is, whom would you trust your back in some sort of extreme situation? Who would you want to be covering your back? And why? For example, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or I don't know, aliens.
If it comes to well-known people, yeah, and it's current. So it seems, based on impression, that let's say Zelensky, the president from Ukraine, is doing a really good job, and I like that he's protective of his people, and he stands up for something. He has an opinion, and that's a very important thing in mountaineering, because there was a famous climber who said, I think we climb a lot more mountains if we don't climb this one. So in mountaineering, the challenge is not to get to the top, but the challenge is to get back safely, to get back safe after you've been to the top. So then you need to be with people indeed you rely upon, which means that you need to be with people you can actually trust, and that when they put their they put the action to their words, and it seems that he's doing that. And I realized that I'm basing my judgment based on what we see on television, on social media, and that's only part of the picture. But in terms of meeting that person, I would really like to know how that person is in real life. Is he indeed what I'm perceiving him to be? That would be a really nice thing to experience on that expedition.
Awesome. Edo, thank you so much for sharing your answers with me. It was everything that I wanted to get from you, and you were very generous to share it with me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Alex.
All righty. Thank you so much, Alex. As always, a pleasure, my friend. And it is a joy to be able to sit back and listen. And Edo, wouldn't have picked it. I'm 195 centimeters myself, and I'm the short one in my family. And so it's good to hear you've got that energy and that excitement in you. I used to be an ex-stuntman in training as well, and a lot of craziness. And I have a feeling one day, Edo, we're going to have a big gathering and somewhere in Europe, and hopefully I get to come and meet you in person. And we can have an eye-to-eye conversation.
Not Heineken. I'm if the beer's not Heineken, I'll be there as well.
Awesome, my friend. So before we close off, are there any last words you'd like to share with the listeners out there?
No. Unless you want to do like another hour.
We've covered it pretty well, huh?
They're very welcome. So I want to invite them to our profile, DeSo World, or our website, https://desocialworld.com, and have them reach out to their profile, or me, Edo Koevoet in particularly. I'm happy with any person who let's say, believes what we try to do and want to help with that, we would love to welcome them on our note.
Fantastic. All right, Edo, thank you so much. And Alex has just popped in a little chat here, and I think this is very relevant. Make love, not war. So absolutely, if you're watching this, if you're tuning in, if this hasn't inspired you, I don't know what will. And please do jump on, as Edo said, desocialworld.com. And if you haven't got a profile yet, set it up, because that profile will be valuable. You can use it in all different places, and a chance to get your unique profile name before they all get taken out, like most of the centralized platforms. So it's a great time to get involved, meet incredible humans, people really actually changing the world, like yourself, Edo. So with that, thank you for your time, my friend. I really have enjoyed meeting you and getting to chat, and I'm sure this will not be our last time. So thank you, everyone who tuned in and watched. Thank you for everyone. Please do like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a comment. Let us know what you liked. Let us know if you'd like us to, bring someone else up on the platform. But yeah, the more engagement we get, as Edo said, the more we communicate, the more we all connect, the more we can really create what we want in the future. So we'd love to hear from you. Please do share it around. We'll be releasing these every week as usual, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for taking the time to watch.